Welcome to the Frugalpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Sarah St. John, and my guest today used to be a full-time musician and Marine, but is now the owner of a custom web design firm called Artillery Media. Welcome to the show, John Wooten.
Sarah, awesome. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Well, can you? I know I just did a brief little introduction, but I'm curious to learn more about how you went from a musician and a Marine to being a freelancer and to starting your own web design company. Maybe that's a lot of actually, but I'd love to hear your story.
Well, a lot of musicians make great web designers because they get in these bands and the bands need a website and someone has to figure it out. A lot of musicians are tech savvy. They're, working this gear on stage, or they're working with recording equipment on a computer. So they kind of have tech savviness, but they also care about style, right? They care about how they look. They're got their show clothes and they got everyone's instruments are a certain color trying to match up and all that stuff. So there's a lot of web designers that I know who was like, yeah, my first band I was in needed a website, and that's how I got in. I was doing the MySpace page, and I thought we should probably get a website too. Um, but yeah, so the Marines, oh man. So coming out of high school, I was big into sports, and I thought I was going to go to college to be a physical therapist. I thought I was going to go stretch out Michael Jordan and other NBA stars. Come to find out, after shadowing a physical therapist for a few days, I was like, this is not for me. And then I switched to marketing, but to help pay for college, I actually joined the Marine Reserves. A lot of people don't know that the Marines have reserves. Everyone's familiar with the National Guard, where you have your 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer. The Marines have the same thing for their reserves. You go to the same boot camp as everyone else. You go to the same combat school, and then you have to train for a certain job that a reserve center in your area supports. My reserve center is about an hour away, and they supported 5 jobs in the Marines. All were like electrical related. And then after about a year of all that training, you go can't come back home to Nebraska, and I do 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer. And I did that for a 6.5 years. Because my last year I got activated, got sent over to Iraq. But I graduated college while I was in the Marines. When I got home from Iraq, I told them, "Hey, I want to be done. I'm going to try to go start this new business idea that I have, building websites." At that time, I was also in a band. So I was in a band that was kind of part time when I left for Iraq. When I came back from Iraq, that band actually got to full time, which back then meant traveling in a 15-passenger van, and I think we were all making between 1,000 to 1,500 a month. But since I had built my web design business to about a couple grand a month, I could swing it as a young single 20-some guy. So then on the road, I would just work in the van on my laptop, and I would work it through coffee shops, go play shows at night. And eventually that band died out, and I got asked to join another band that was able to pay me almost full time with my web design. But in between those two bands, I took a full-time job at a place called Arbor Day, great nonprofit, all about planting trees. Thought I would love it. It was a web designer position. There were 6 people on the team. I had a cubicle. My boss, my this is serious. My boss was like 10 feet from me, but he would just IM me. Like, he would not come over to my desk and talk to me in my cubicle. He would just, and I could see him, like, I see you. Um, so after 6 months on that job, I just got bored of it. I thought I would love it. I thought, this is it. I'm gonna work on their family of 4 websites, all the same branding, all the same theme. But after 6 months, I was tired of looking at nature photos of trees and the color green and dealing with their logo. I wanted variety. And I also knew that there were folks out there living life on their schedule. They had that life of freedom that I wanted. And what's funny is, while I was on that cubicle job one Friday afternoon, which I don't know if you ever worked a cubicle job at a corporate place, but Friday afternoons, they might as well let you go at noon because nothing's getting done. That'd actually be a great perk for a company is, hey, you get off at noon here on Friday because we know you're just going to cruise social media the rest of Friday afternoon. So I'm cruising social media Friday afternoon, and there's this band that I was following, and I clicked on one of their videos. And so, to set the stage, I'm in my cubicle, and in my cubicle, I've written down freedom on a note card, and I actually wrote down the daily what I was getting paid per day based on my salary on another note card, and it was on the wall in my cubicle to try to motivate me to keep building websites to get my business full time so I could get freedom and get out of this job. So I'm watching this YouTube video, and the band's lead singer's on the slopes out in Colorado, about ready to go down the slopes. And he takes off his ski goggles, and the band manager is recording. And the band manager asked him, "Hey, man, what are we doing today?" And I'll never forget this because this is like the trigger for me. He said, "We're out here on a Tuesday morning while the rest of the world is working. That's when we play." And then he put his goggles on and went down the hill. And I was like angry and motivated at the same time. I wanted that freedom that he had to go ski on a Tuesday morning while everyone else is in the cubicle like I was working. And right then I went home. I wrote down freedom on more cards. I put them in a mirror in my bathroom. I put them on my nightstand. So when I go to bed and wake up, I see these freedom. That's all I saw. And that's what got me motivated to work up that web design business even more so. Cut to 6 months later at Arbor Day, I went and put in my notice because that band that I watched needed a drummer, and I
Mm.
joined that band. They couldn't pay me quite full time, pretty close. But again, the income from the web design is what got me to be able to leave that corporate job and go tour. And so that's kind of the beginning.
Awesome. I love that story. And I was actually going to ask what instrument you played, but you answered that for me. I actually play the drums as well, which is pretty rare for a female. So I just love, yeah, I love. Fell in love with drumming at like 13, and I thought about joining a band, but that just never worked out. But I'm curious, these bands that you were in, would any of us know any of them? Like, or
Oh,
were they
probably not.
okay?
They're both Christian bands. One was a Christian
Oh,
rock band that never got signed.
okay.
The one I've been in since that story I said, I joined that band in 2010. So I've been in that one about 11 years. When I
Oh,
joined, we were a 5-piece band. We're a 2-piece band now. So I actually play keys and drums. And
ah,
depending on which part of the song is, I will either be behind the keyboard or I'll move to the drum set to finish the song out. That's a Christian band as well. It's called Voda, VOTA, and we were signed
okay.
for a while, and we still go out on tour. We actually just did a tour with a guy named Peter Furler who used to sing for this bigger group called the
Mm,
Newsboys. So
right.
some Christian folks might know a couple of those names,
Mhm.
but most folks won't know who we are.
And I think Peter Fuller, is the cousin of Sia, right?
Might be, I don't
Did you
know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's what I heard. But yeah, I'm familiar with Christian. I haven't heard of Voda. I'm gonna check it out now, but
Yeah,
I actually Skillet is my favorite band of all time.
totally.
Uh, and there's several others that I like Need to Breathe and For King of
Oh
Country
yeah,
and
oh
whatever.
yeah. Yep.
So I'm familiar. The other 2 bands that you were in, I'm just curious what their names were, just in case I'm
Oh, so I've only been in 2
oh,
bands
okay.
that you would know. The first one was called Fate of Angels. So when I was in that
Okay.
band, we played several festivals. Um, but when I played in Voda, I still do. Voda, VOTA, votaband.com. That one, I've played lots of festivals with them, and so I've met the Need to Breathe guys. I've met
Mm,
John Cooper and the Skillet people.
mhm.
One time I did a workout with the drummer from the Newsboys, Duncan
Oh.
Phillips. Him and I did an
Mhm.
insanity workout together. That was a bonding moment for sure. Um, Hung out with Switchfoot backstage with
Mm,
just at the festival. You're all kind of gathered there together. So
mhm.
yeah, it was some super cool time. So actually, the singer in the band, and so we're a 2-piece band now. He actually
Mhm.
filled in on guitar for Newsboys for 3 years. So he was doing the
Oh.
whole private jet, you know, showing up 5 minutes before they go on, getting handed a perfectly tuned guitar from the stagehand as he goes on stage. And now he has to play with me and not have that and help set up gear and help tear down and all that stuff.
Wow, that's awesome that you're able to still do that, like, balance that with the web design, um, and that's neat that you've kind of always been doing both of those, like, juggling them.
Yeah, it's and web design is unique. Uh, for that to happen. In that the big power of web design, in my opinion, is the long term play, I call it, is the monthly recurring revenue you can build up by offering hosting and maintenance plans. It's really hard to find that in other creative industries. So, for example,
Mhm.
photography, nobody wants to pay monthly to have access to their wedding photos. And if they
Mhm.
stop paying, they don't have access anymore. Like, that's not how it works. Or if I want a 2-minute marketing video from a videographer, I just want to pay the 1 or 2 grand or whatever it's going to be. I don't want to pay monthly. And if I stop paying, I don't get access to that video anymore. But website hosting is it's a necessity. You need website hosting for your website to be live. Every
Mhm.
website needs it. So I equate it to car insurance. I tell people, hey, during the pandemic, you might have canceled a gym membership, right, for a few months, but you didn't cancel your car insurance. You still needed to get a car to get around. Same thing with this. During the pandemic, I knew companies that put a pause on social media marketing because they felt like it wasn't the right time. I knew some co-work spaces that had some monthly folks cancel for a while, and eventually they came back. But none of our clients canceled their hosting. In fact, COVID just showed everyone how important their online presence is. So building that recurring revenue over the past 5-6 years, when I started offering hosting and maintenance plans, that has really given me the freedom, especially now, to start every month, not from zero, but to start with enough money to not even take any more work that month. And I can just keep playing music or doing whatever. Now, website work still comes in, but it's that security blanket of, oh, no matter what, I'm not starting from zero every month. And so I think that's a big separator, that if folks are like, they're creative, but they're also tech savvy, and they like, oh, I want to be a freelancer, but I don't know what industry to go in. I think that's a good differentiator for web design if you're interested in that.
Yeah, sorry, I'll edit out my
It's all good.
uh, recovering from anyway. So yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the recurring aspect of it because because I've thought about, because I like designing websites myself. I mean, I'm sure they're not as good as yours, but I do
Oh no.
like because I did check your website out. It's really cool. Um, but but I create decent enough websites, and I've thought about doing it, but I was like, but like you said, I was thinking of it more in terms of, okay, so charge the 500 or whatever amount as the one-time fee to create it, and then I was like, but then, like you said, the recurring. But if you do, like, the hosting and the maintenance, like, I guess you probably use WordPress, I assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so when you say maintenance and things of that nature, like, maintaining their plugins and that
Yep.
the security, everything's up to date, because a lot of people, that confuses them, they don't even know they're supposed to do it.
Right.
Um and then as far as the hosting goes, so how does that work? Do you have, like, your own actual hosting company, or you host it through, whatever, but then
You got it.
the latter, I guess?
Yeah, we resell. So we use a company called
Ah,
Siteground. So I've used
yeah, me
many.
too.
I've used many hosting companies. That I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've used many. And Siteground, I've never had to call them one time. I know the GoDaddy hold music. You know, I have called Bluehost One and One and others. I've never called
Mhm,
Siteground, and their chat is unbelievable. Their chat, I've
mhm,
never waited more than 5 minutes to talk to someone, and their customer service is off the charts. But
mhm,
so obviously, um, we know, that you can go out and you can buy hosting for, probably cheap hosting for as little as $5 a month, right? Or $7 a month. SiteGround's a little more because they're more premium. So that's why I tell people, hey, when you're selling hosting main security plans, you're not just selling hosting. You're also selling you going in, or maybe through software, going in and keeping those plugins up to date for them, keeping workers up to date for them. Yeah, because the number one way websites get hacked is outdated plugins or themes or WordPress. And why that is when WordPress or a plugin or a theme, when they come out with a new update, they say, hey, here's a fresh, cool new update. Here's some new features, but here's all these security issues that we fixed. Well, that tells all the hackers what
mm,
was wrong with the last version. So they write a little bot script to go out and exploit those old security failures. And so folks who are late to update are the ones that get hacked. And as you said, clients are either confused about it or they just don't know that, oh, I'm supposed to keep that up to date. Some folks don't even keep their phone up to date, right? Or their computers. So they don't know. And so that's it's a necessity. And so many clients are they're so down to pay a monthly fee for their website because it's that important to them that stays up. And they need you as that go between. They don't want to call
Mhm.
the hosting company and figure out the terminology and deal with them. They don't want to do that. And if you get in the right industry, a lot of them recognize that their time is best spent working on doing their thing that they're good at in their business and not finagling with their website.
Mhm. So, I think a common question probably is, well, instead of hiring someone to, create a WordPress website, uh, I could just pay 10, $20 a month for like Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, one of those.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so what can you tell someone who has that mindset or thinks that?
Oh, no, I feel you. Especially when you're starting out and you're dealing with kind of I think everyone, when they're first starting a service business like this, whether it's photography, videography, or social media, web design, you're gonna have the lower budget clients at first. And so you might have some of that competition of, well, I can just go do this. I can just go, you're gonna charge me $500. I can just go to Squarespace and do it myself. A couple good news about that is the market for websites is vast. There's more than enough room for anyone who wants to hop in and be a web designer because every website or every business, solopreneur, entrepreneur, they need a website. Now, if they're tech savvy, sometimes if I get an entrepreneur on the phone and they're tech savvy, I might say, hey, here's how much I am, but you sound tech savvy. So you could go to Squarespace and pay $30 a month, but they still don't quite understand the best flow of the page, the best layout. We use StoryBrand framework to mold all our pages to tell a client's or to tell a customer story as they're going down the website and using certain strategy that we know works to get folks to click on that call to action. A newbie doesn't quite have that, or this person might not have that. Also, if you don't know things like how to optimize your media, optimize your images, not take a gigantic photo that you took on your phone and throw that on your website and then wonder, why is my website running so slow? Well, you got 20 photos that are 5 megs each. Your website's going to be slow. There's things that they don't know about that. But I think ultimately it's you going out and finding the clients that recognize that they need you as the expert to build that site for them. I remember when GoDaddy ran the Super Bowl ad. Man, it must have been 3 years ago now, and it was $1. Get your website up and running for $1 a month, or maybe it might even be for $1 for the first year. And one of the guys that I work with texted me and said, "What are we gonna do? GoDaddy's offering websites for $1." And I said, "The people that want to do that, number one, are not my customers. But after they go out and try to build their website with GoDaddy, some of them are going to be our customers because they're going to realize I can't do this on my own. It looks bad. I'm going to hire a professional." And so a lot of folks that go the Squarespace Wix route, I think some of them realize that, like, wow, this is not as easy as I thought. But we do battle this idea of, since a Squarespace site, you can just change designs that with just changing a theme. Well then, hey John, with my website, we're almost done, but can we change some things really quick? Like, isn't that just an easy thing to do? So you do kind of combat that a little bit. But yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, well, and I think another thing too is like with WordPress sites that it's so customizable, like the plugins and the themes and you know, like if you need a pop-up or
Hmm.
call to action or whatever it might be. And there's some things like I used to have, I think I never tried Squarespace, but I tried Wix and Weebly. I used to have a site on both of those. And it wasn't until there was a specific plugin that I heard about that I wanted called Simple Podcast Press. It was a
Hmm.
podcast player.
Okay.
Um I switched to WordPress just because of that plugin, and now
Hmm.
and I was overwhelmed at first with WordPress. It was more of a learning curve,
Yeah.
but now I'm glad I did, and just all the plugins and customization and whatnot. So I think, yeah, like anyone who doesn't want a cookie cutter website, one that actually is designed to, convert or get leads or whatever. Um, yeah.
That's an excellent point. Scalability. So scalability on the WordPress site is options are unlimited. So say eventually you want to have a membership part of your site. Well, there's a membership plugin that you could have where you could charge paid access to certain parts of your website. We have an online course that teaches people how to build websites, and it's built in WordPress, and we have a membership piece that controls that access, whether or not you've paid for the course or not. And then there's a course plugin that we use to build the course. So if you want to have online courses on your website, Squarespace really can't do that. They can't do the membership either. Or say you want a business directory. Say you're a county and you want a website, or a city and you want a business directory. Well, there's a business directory plugin for WordPress that you can use. There's not one for Squarespace. I don't know if there's one for Wix or Weebly or not. But hey, if you're a brand new startup and you don't have a budget for a website and you just need a simple landing page, I mean, there's solutions for that. There's even ConvertKit does landing pages now. A lot of them do, and Squarespace, Wix, Weebly, those could be great options for you. But if you have budget, I would say get started on the right foot. Hire a professional. It's going to go a long way. Sometimes there's a photographer that I use that I hire, and I don't even want to tell her my ideas sometimes because I just know her ideas are better. And I don't want to stifle her or put her in a box because of what I think I want. And that's kind of the clients I'm looking for, or that the ones I really try to find are, okay, who understands that there's two types of websites. There's a brochure style website, which is here's my website, here's what I do, here's how to contact me. And it's kind of a business card brochure website. And I guess I have to have this, right? I can't just get by with my LinkedIn and Facebook page. I need to have this website. And so, in the customer's mind, if you sell them a brochure website, they look at it as an expense, as well, there goes $1,000 or whatever, or 3,000 or whatever it is. Or you can sell them a business building tool, a website that is driven by strategy and that has things on there that'll help them get more leads and turn those leads into customers, and using the story brand framework and everything like that. And so when they look at it that way, they look at it more as an investment of, hey, I'm going to spend several grand on this website, but it's going to make me X amount more because it's built with strategy. Especially when you add things like email sequences on top of it, the website can truly be a machine on its own. Knowing that you can send someone to the website and say, take our quiz. There's another plugin that Squarespace probably doesn't have. Take our quiz on our Break Into Web website. If you go there, you can take a quiz to see if web design is good for you. After the quiz, and based on your answers in the quiz, you get put into different email funnels. So if you identify as a photographer, you're going to get put into an email funnel where you're going to get 13 emails over 45 days that are, a lot of them are focused as you as a photographer and how it's going to be an easy transition for you to come into web design. If you identify as a stay-at-home mom, though, instead of photographer, your emails are going to start out with, hey mama, or hey lady, and those are written by Kelly, my partner in Breaking the Web, and they're written for more of that. Hey, you want freedom, you want to be able to take your kids to school, you want to go on field trips. So those emails the photographers may not identify with. And so knowing that when we send someone there and they take the quiz, I know that I don't necessarily have to follow up with them because the email sequence is going to follow up for me. And they're going to hear about price objections and how to get over that. They're going to see several success testimonials. They're going to see how we can help them in their specific situation, whether videographer, photographer, creative, stay-at-home mom. I even have a landing page for musicians that just talks about how you'll make a great web designer probably. So when you sell the website that way, that sounds way more powerful as a tool and a website machine. Then yeah, I can get you a website that have a Google map of your location and your address and phone number. So yeah, I think it's all in how you set it up, and you're able to charge more for that tool, and they're more willing to pay you, especially monthly, to keep that machine running. So I think that's a big part of it.
Mhm.
That was a
Yeah,
long
and
rant.
oh, no, I appreciate it. That I think that definitely helped kind of give the differences between, a Squarespace type of site and, a WordPress site, or one that, you would hire someone to do. Or
Totally.
um one thing that really bugs me is when a company just has a Facebook page and they think that's all they need. Um are those like, okay, so if you decide to start a web design company, what is the best way to get clients? Like, would reaching out to these Facebook pages that don't have a website, would that be a good place to start? Or is it likely that someone who doesn't even have a basic website isn't gonna go for that?
Sure. So, in our course, I do all the technical training, and then Kelly does all the business training. She actually has an MBA in business
Mm,
administration, and she actually built her business twice, once in Nebraska, and then she moved to Colorado and then restarted one there and built it.
mm,
So she's got tons of in our course, there's a prospecting page or a prospecting module that has some worksheets that just have, man, 60, 70 ways to drum up
mm,
business. But some of the key ones from there are, well, and it's typical, but you start with your warm market, just letting people know your first couple websites might even be for free just to get experience under your belt. And my first two were free. I'll tell you what they were. First one was the recording studio we're recording in. They didn't even have a
mm,
website. I was like, y'all need a website. I'll do one for free because you have cool. I want to take pictures of your stuff. It's really cool. And then my dad's a local small church pastor at the time. It's medium sized now. And I was like, Dad, you need a website. And then word started to spread. I had portfolio. I did a custom home site for another friend. He knew somebody. They talk. So what I say is, hey, start with your warm market first. You're going to get a couple leads from there. You're going to do a couple sites from there. Get them to leave Google reviews. That's huge.
mm,
At our Artillery, my design company, we have over 125-star Google reviews.
mm,
We have no 4, 3, 2, or 1. So when someone Googles web design Nebraska or Midwest and they see that big list of everyone, right, and how many reviews they have, I think the next one is like 30. So they see 120 and they're like,
mm,
wow, these guys must be great. So that's one way. The second way is you can go on like a Facebook local business community and get involved in that. Go look at their websites. One key thing is to look at their website on tablet or mobile, and if they're not optimized yet for mobile, then you can hit them and say, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but over half of all traffic now is looked at mobile, and your site isn't. I can help you with that. We can do a new website for you, and it'll be responsive, so it's going to look great on tablet and mobile." Some of our students have had a lot of success that way, getting 3, 4 clients, and then those people spread the word about them in that small business group, and they get more business that way. It's funny that you say some business only have a Facebook page. So back in 2006, 2005, I think, I was in that Fate of Angels band, and we were in the studio recording an album. And I remember we were all in the control room, and I remember saying, guys, because a lot of bands only had MySpace pages, but we had a MySpace page and a website. And I just said, guys, MySpace might not be around forever. And they laughed at me. They laughed at me, which I get because at the time, every band was using MySpace and it seemed like it
mhm,
would just never go away. But then things went south and it just went away. And I mean, dare I say, maybe Facebook won't be around forever. Or here's another trick that I do to help people realize that Facebook's not the best place for them to solely have their presence. When you're on Facebook, you have distractions. So they could be on your business page and then say, "Oh, my friend's birthday's today." Click, and now they're gone. You know, on your website, that's not going to happen. Or they're on your website or they're on your Facebook page reading about what you do, and then a friend messages them, and oh, they go check that out, and then they kind of not make it back to your page because how do I get back there? Oh, I got to search for them. Versus once they go to your website, they're on your turf. They're on there until they choose to leave. So yeah. R.I.P. MySpace.
yeah, it's kind of like the whole owning a house versus renting a house, or owning land, or because like you said, I, yeah, I always make the comparison to MySpace went away overnight practically. Same could happen to Facebook. I think it's good to have a social media presence and have a Facebook page and all this stuff, but like if you're just depending on that, I mean, even if they don't go away, I mean, you're not getting access to like customer information, like
Yeah.
emails and all of that stuff. Like just everybody. One way I like if I'm thinking about hiring someone for something, like maybe I need to get, well, we actually did have to get our AC fixed this week. So let's use that as an example. If I'm looking for some like local place to fix my AC, um, and all they have is a Facebook page and no website, I automatically rule them out. Like, and I don't know if other people operate that way, but that's at
Yeah.
least how I am. So,
A big quote that I use, that speaker friend of mine, he kind of came up with, and maybe he borrowed it from somewhere, I don't know, but it's your perception determines your reception. So in his example of that quote, he's saying, so if, let's say, you're a motivational speaker and I'm looking at booking you for my conference, if I go to your website and it looks your motivational speaker website and it looks amateur, it's inconsistent in how it's designed, your about me is like 10 paragraphs long, then I'm going to assume that your speech, your motivational talk is amateur. It's cluttered. It's You're going to ramble on just like your 10 but if I come to your website and it's clean and your promo video isn't 10 minutes long, it's a minute and a half, and your about me is just a paragraph of the most important things with a read more option, or your services are not, things are just put well together, then I'm going to assume that your talk is put well together and you are put well together, and you're automatically assigning values. Sometimes what I'll do in a live client sales meeting is I will Google, like, not the city that we're in, because I don't want them to know somebody, but I'll be like, Denver, Colorado wedding photographer. And I will pull up two different webs. I'll pull up like 5 or 6 different websites and then pick two of them, like the best and the worst, from like the first 3 pages of Google. And you'll see like the best one, gorgeous photo, super clean navigation, the right font, minimal text. And it's just like you see the photo and right away you're just like, that's versus you go another one where they have like 10 galleries and you're like, what do you do? There's wedding photos here, but there's also car show photos, like, pick a, and the design's not great. Right away you're saying, okay, they're probably $500 and these people are probably 3 grand. And that's an example of your perception determines your how are you received. And
mm.
so yeah, so you perceive that this lawnmower company only had a Facebook page. Are they not legit enough to have a website? Do they not make enough money to afford one? So right away you thought, oh, they're probably not legit, or as legit as what I'm looking for. And then, versus if you land on their website and it was Todd's Lawn Care and it was a nice photo of a beautiful manicured lawn with him out in front of with a picture of him out in front of the mower, and it just said, you know, get a free quote, and then you saw a slider of like 10 happy customers, you'd probably be like, yeah, that's what I want. Todd, he seemed like a nice guy. Wow, this person said he's reliable and he cleaned up before he left. That's what I want. Boom. You know? Yeah, anyway.
So, speaking of, well, you were given examples of like photography pricing, which made me think of like if you start a web design company, I guess what is, well, and I guess this is kind of up to the individual and whatever, but I'm kind of curious what the average rate is that people charge
Mhm.
nowadays for like a custom website, and then also how much you can charge for like the hosting and maintenance.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you some numbers. I'll give you some good ranges. And then based on data from our students that have graduated our course and gone on to be full time freelancers. So I guess I'll start at the what kind of the ceiling is. So as a solo freelancer, 10 grand is kind of the ceiling of what you can do. It's probably more like 7,500. That's probably the top that as a one person shop that you're going to be able to sell. Any business that's going to have a budget bigger than that, they're going to want features that you might have to bring a developer in, or you might have to bring another designer in just to handle it. So that's kind of the ceiling. I think the sweet spot for a seasoned designer, someone who's been doing it a few years, is 3 to 5 grand. That's kind of the sweet spot, because at that point you're usually working with small mom and pop type businesses. There may be an owner or and a spouse, or an owner or two partners. So you only have one or two decision makers, which is great. Once you get over 7,500, 10 grand, you start getting into a company that has 20, 30 employees, and all of a sudden you have five decision makers. Or if they have a marketing department, it's just going to take longer. There's going to be more red tape, and you're going to be like, why did I say yes to this? When you're first starting out, as I mentioned, your first one or two sites might be free. I tell people in our course, the first 10 to 15 websites are going to be the hardest websites that you will ever get. It's going to be the hardest you work to get websites, assuming that you do a great job on them. Because after that, you're going to have word of mouth starting to work for you, and you're going to start getting more customers in, more supply. And so, or more demand, I mean. And so as more demand comes in, your supply, your time is less and less. You can charge more. The average price students come out of our course charging for websites is between, right away, if they get a paying website, is between $1,000 to $2,000. After 6 months or so, the students that are having success and that are doing their own freelance thing, the average they're charging is between $2,000 to $4,000. We've had 3 different students get $5,000 websites. We've had one student get that $10,000 website, but that's extremely rare. So I think on average, 2 to 5K is about the sweet spot. And then as far as hosting and maintenance, we do 3 different tiers, and it seems to work well for all kinds of clients. Tier 1 is $49 a month. What do you get for that? You get premium WordPress hosting on Siteground or something like Flywheel or something like that. You get the maintenance, updating of your WordPress themes, plugins, and WordPress itself. You get backups with that, which the hosting companies do, but we also do separate backups to Dropbox. And then you also get you get a security plugin that we've kind of, through years, we kind of know what settings to tweak for it to kind of optimize it. And then you get 15 minutes a month of content updates, which most clients, that's all they need. Because a lot of clients, we train them how to go in and make their own updates. So it's pretty rare that they're like, oh, hey, this isn't working. Can you tell me why? And it's usually something simple that takes 5 minutes. That's $49. $99 a month gets you everything with $49. The only difference is you get 1 hour of content updates versus 15 minutes. So that's more for the person who's adding stuff to their site, several times a week, and they're just not picking up on the video training maybe, or they just don't want to deal with it. They know that they're going to send those edits to us. We're going to take care of them, but they only get an hour. After the 15 minutes in the first plan, or after the hour on the second plan, our hourly rate is $150 per hour. But if since they're on our hosting plan, we tell them they're members, quote unquote, and so they get half off of that. So they pay $75 an hour, just a way for them to feel part of the club, right? And then our third tier is $299 a month, which I think is crazy. But we have 3 people that are on this. We have 3 people that are, and it's the, hey client, we're not even going to give you a login. You will never log into your site. Anytime you have a change, you send it to us. One of these clients that we have on this plan is a custom home builder, and in the last 3 years, they've been paying $300 a month for their hosting and maintenance. They've sent us 3 months. They've sent us updates. 3 different months. That took less than an hour each. For 3 years, the last 3 years, we tell them every year, hey, we could probably roll you down to like the 99 or 49 because you're not really utilizing this. And you know what she says? She says, no, I want to stay on it because I want to know that when I have an update, you guys are going to be available to make it like that day or the next day. And so she's paying for that. And I never would I think we'd have someone that would do that, let alone 3 people. So that's kind of the deal. I would say let's say you take Break into Web. That's the name of our course. Break, BREAK, breakintoweb.com. You go there, take a quiz. But let's say you go through and you graduate. The first 1 or 2 sites probably going to be free or $500 or less. That's probably what it's going to be. And then after that, sites 3 or 4 or 5, $750 to $1,000. And then once you get past sites 10, we want you charging $2,000 or more. Our course is $997. Well, it's $1,247, but it's 20% off right now, so it's $997. And so our goal is that students make their money back the first couple paid websites that they do. That's what we want. So does that give you a good idea of kind of, okay, sorry. So after after 10 websites, you're charging $1,000 to $2,000. And then once you get past that, then you're going to start seeing the 2,500, 3,500, and maybe up to that five. The 5 grand you're probably looking at, you've been doing it a year or two. And that's when you're going to start seeing those $5,000 clients come out of the woodwork. But that's kind of the 2 to 5, or I'd say 2 to 4 is kind of the sweet spot. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, after hearing all this, I'm like, maybe I should consider the whole web design thing again.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I'm always up for questions. Just hit me up.
yeah, because I recently launched a podcast production agency, but one of the things that I'm going to do with that is also create people's podcast websites. So I'm like, well, maybe I could also, I don't know, connect the two businesses somehow, like
Oh,
sister.
absolutely. I mean, if you I'll give you if you go to mybrilliantsite.com, that's going to be the motivational speaker website where we just offer
Mhm.
here's 3 designs. You get one page and a blog. And so, and
Ah.
a lot of podcast people, they would need like, here's your homepage, and then obviously the podcast system, which is probably a plugin that like you mentioned, that they could use.
Mhm.
Maybe they need a blog, maybe not, and then they probably need like some kind of a contact page or request to be on the show kind of thing, an about page. Yeah, that'd be cake. You could have 3 different styles, and they could just pick one and pay you a monthly fee. Boom. All, and I love that you have the podcast part of it. That's great. Yeah, I love it.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to have to check out so it's breakintoweb.com.
Yes.
And then if people want to check out like the sites that you've created and whatnot, or if they need their own site created, it's artillerymedia.com. And then of course I'll have show notes as well with links to all of this at
Yep.
thesarahstjohn.com/John Wooten. And was there anything else that you wanted to go over that we hadn't yet?
Well, so speaking of websites I've done, yeah, if you go to artilleryme.com, you'll see a work page on there. You can see the website I've done. But if you go to Break into Web, and it's break, BREAK, not break like break your car. If you go to breakintoweb.com/examples, you'll see
Mm.
screenshots of sites our students have done, and
Oh.
you'll see that a lot of them are just gorgeous, and there's a lot of them on there. There's a lot of them on there. But you'll see the kind of caliber of websites that we teach, and then you'll see why these students are getting 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 for them. And also, if you check out our website, breakingweb.com, and click Get Started, it's going to take you through that fun quiz that I talked about, and then it's going to give you access to a webinar where we have a free training that you're going to make your business plan in that
Mm.
training. So that's pretty exciting when you sit down and dream about how you want your life to look like, what do you want to offer in your business, stuff like that. And then if you sign up within 3 day or a day of watching that webinar, if you sign up within a day, not only do you get the 20% off, but you get a little swag pack. And for those listening, you can't see, but you get a Break into Web coffee mug,
Mm.
right? Or I don't drink coffee, so for me it's tea. You also get a Break into Web planner, just a blank notebook that you can write your goals in about how you're gonna slay it in your new business. And then you also get a Break into Web sticker for your laptop. But then also you get this guy. It's there's no place like homepage. Sure. There's
I
no place
love
like
that.
home page, and you'll be able to pick a color, and that's if you sign up within 1 day after
Mhm.
watching the webinar. Otherwise, you get the
Okay.
20% off. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm curious now. Well, awesome. Well, I
Well,
appreciate your time today, and um, yeah, I've learned a lot. Now I'm reconsidering adding that onto my services.
well, thanks so much for having me on. Again, get 20% off breakintoweb.com. Take the quiz. That's free. It's fun. It'll let you know if we think you're a good fit or not. And you know what? If you're not good fit, we still say, well, prove us wrong, right? We're not going to tell someone no. And then if you sign up within a day, you get that cool swag pack I just mentioned. Thanks so much, Sarah, for
Awesome.
having me on. And thanks, folks, for listening to my wonderful rants.
I loved it. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. You're